In the mists of Celtic folklore, fairies were never simply tiny, winged beings. They were powerful, unpredictable forces, guardians of nature, bringers of fortune or mischief. Among them, two queens rise most vividly in memory and imagination, Queen Mab and Queen Titania. Yet here lies a twist. One belongs firmly to myth, while the other was born on the stage. Mab whispers out of ancient belief, while Titania springs from Shakespeare's quill. And in this duality, we glimpse the fascinating way folklore and literature intertwine. Queen Mab is the elder spirit. Long before she entered English poetry, her roots reached deep into Irish and Welsh tradition. Scholars connect her name to Medb, pronounced Maeve, the legendary warrior queen of Connaught, famed in the Tainbo Cuailnge. In those stories, Maeve was human, fierce, ambitious, commanding. But as myth shifted and centuries passed, her shadow transformed into something otherworldly. By the Middle Ages, Mab was spoken of as a fairy queen, not a dainty sprite, but a trickster of dreams. She was said to ride her chariot across the night sky, pulled by creatures as small as atoms, weaving visions into the minds of sleepers. Here she is no longer a warlord of cattle raids, but a ruler of imagination. Shakespeare immortalized her in Romeo and Juliet. Through the words of Mercutio, Mab becomes the fairies' midwife, visiting lovers, lawyers, soldiers in their sleep, planting desires and delusions. She is whimsical, dangerous, playful, not wholly benevolent, but never without charm. Titania, by contrast, does not appear in any Celtic or European folklore before the Elizabethan age. She is entirely Shakespeare's invention in A Midsummer Night's Dream. Yet the name he gave her, from Latin Titania, daughter of the Titans, cloaked her in grandeur and ancient dignity. On stage, Titania rules the forest alongside Oberon. Their quarrels disturb the very balance of nature. She is sensual, regal, capricious, a queen whose passions bend the fate of humans and fairies alike. In creating her, Shakespeare was not preserving a folk memory, but shaping an ideal, a fairy monarch suited to his enchanted comedy. And yet, once written, Titania slipped into cultural memory as though she had always been there. Later poets, painters, and Victorian illustrators embraced her as though she were an age-old queen of the fairies. Myth and art merged, and few remembered that she was literary, not legendary. Together, Mab and Titania represent two pathways of myth. Mab reveals how folklore can be reshaped across centuries, from Irish warrior queen to English bringer of dreams. Titania shows how literature itself can create a myth so compelling it feels timeless. Nor are they alone. In Irish lore, figures like Aine, goddess of summer and sovereignty, and Cleodna, ruler of a fairy host tied to the sea, were often described as queens of the otherworld. In Scotland, tales spoke of the Queen of Elfhame, a mysterious monarch who lured mortals into her hidden realm, while in darker traditions, the spectral Nycnavin commanded nocturnal processions of spirits and witches. These names remind us that fairy queens appeared in many guises, each tied to their own land and people. The Renaissance loved to blend classical grandeur with local folklore. Thus, Shakespeare's Titania feels Roman in name, but Celtic in spirit, while Mab carries the raw echoes of Irish sovereignty, queens into English literature. Artists of later centuries blurred the lines even further. Romantic painters cast Titania among moonlit forests, surrounded by fluttering fairies, while Mab became a spectral figure, driving her tiny chariot through star-sprinkled skies. Neither wholly folkloric nor entirely fictional, they drifted into the shared dreamscape of European imagination. To read them side by side is to see how myth evolves. Some queens born of ancient ritual, others conjured by poets, yet all living on equal terms in cultural memory. The sacred and the theatrical feed one another until the distinction almost disappears. Queen Mab, Dreamweaver, and Queen Titania, stage-born monarch, are joined by Aine, Cleodna, and the queens of Elfheim, a chorus of sovereigns from myth and art alike. And together, they whisper of how stories never truly end. They only change their form.